MovieWeb.com.
One of the things that really hits about this film is are the German citizens culpable for just basically letting happen what happened? Should Morris really hold Halder responsible for what's happening in the entire society?
Well, one of the reasons I was drawn to the story is that I don't feel personally that I can point the finger at anybody. You know, I mean, they're both very powerless, Halder and Morris, in the face of this regime, which is, they're no part of it. I mean, they're not at the center of what's going on in Nazi Germany. They're just ordinary individuals. And I don't know how much I've been raising a finger for people who have been tortured in my name, or held without trial or access to a lawyer in my name. Should I be held responsible for the people who are making this in China and India? Very possibly. I'm not sure. I find life a bit of an ethical minefield, and that's why the story I found interesting and provocative.
Well, let's follow up on that question, because Morris is a psychologist and Halder is a teacher, so these are learned men. You know, they're well educated, and they're probably more apt to not be overcome by the bully mob. But in the beginning of the film, there's really a sense that things are changing for the negative, and maybe Halder himself is letting himself get delusioned, but Morris, as a Jew, do you think he should have realized earlier what was happening?
Well, I read a lot of diaries when we were making this because I didn't want to have any kind of retrospective wisdom, so a lot of contemporary accounts. And generally, men, more than women, refused to see what was coming. Maybe seeing what was coming is expecting too much of them. They couldn't believe it could get worse than it was. They were heavily invested in their professions and their status in society. And, you know, Morris is a First World War veteran. He's absolutely German to his core. Generations of his family have been there. And it's unimaginable that things could have got as bad as they are. So the expectation is that things will get better when this period of time is over. Nobody could have foreseen what was coming.
All right, that makes sense. So speaking of Morris as a character, right, there's a great scene where he is literally begging for help. Was that your most difficult scene to film acting-wise?
I don't know what was difficult about playing Morris ever. Really, was just the journey. You know, to go from somebody who is a real force of nature, an eater of life and women and wine and song, to somebody who is so reduced in his circumstances and in his pride that he has to go to Viggo's character, cap in hand. It was more the journey than the, you know, to find that low status. It sticks in his throat. He's never comfortable with it. That's one of the great things about Morris, is he's not a victim. You never see him play the victim. You never see him believe of himself as a victim.
Right. Talk about working with Viggo. Most of your on-screen time is with him back and forth. How was he as an actor, and what was it like working together on this film?
Well, he's a really very delightful man, and we play best friends, and we knew it was important to be relaxed in each other's company. But I couldn't go to any rehearsals. I was shooting Brotherhood in Rhode Island, TV series. So he flew to Rhode Island to come and be with my wife and I and our kids, and just got to know me, which was a very generous thing to do. And then because I had no time at all in Hungary where we were shooting, I just got off the plane, shot, and went straight back to Brotherhood twice. He had been scouring Europe for things for his character, and when I arrived, he gave me things that he thought Morris might be listening to, things he thought Morris might be reading, stuff to put in my pockets, stuff to decorate my flat. He's a very easy man to like, Viggo, because he's a very generous and sensitive soul. He's an artist.
All right. I know a lot of filmgoers are always skeptical when really great plays are adapted into movies, and Good was, I guess, ranked as one of the top 100 plays of the 20th century or something. What can you tell people who like the play? How is the movie different? I don't know if you ever saw the play or read it. What's the similarities? What are the differences? Well,
the difference between seeing Good on stage and seeing Good on film, apart from the fact there's a whole bunch of new scenes and different scenes, is that one of the biggest characters in Good, the play and the film, is Germany. But you can't see Germany on the stage. You know, Germany is literally blooming in front of our eyes. The parks are suddenly full of flowers. The children have parades to go to and music. The economy's back on its feet. There are new buildings going up. There's a sense of pride and strength and unity that had been missing since the First World War. And you can see that stuff on the screen in a way that you could never have seen it on stage.
Quick question about your choices. You're a very versatile actor, plays, television, films. What is it that primarily draws you to a project? Is it directing, acting, or is it the screenplay?
Do you know, I have almost no plan in life. It's freaking me out slightly that Harry Potter just got in touch, that the production said, we need you for these periods of time next year and in 2010 and in August 2010. I don't like to think that far ahead. I know that sometimes stories grab me. This story, for instance, I think grabs me because I've got 2 little kids. And I find life incredibly difficult to navigate in a way that I can hold my head up in front of my children. You know, they will maybe judge me for flying, driving, buying things made in sweatshops, not raising my finger against people who are tortured or locked up without a lawyer. And, you know, and so this story in particular, I felt applied to my everyday life, all the million rationalizations, decisions I make. Sometimes I do something because I fancy shooting a lot of people, or because it shoots on a beach, or because I'm broke. You know, there are a million different decisions to take a job.
That's a great answer. All right, so would you ever step forward? Would you ever, step behind the camera? Would you ever direct? Would you do something like that?
I think, yeah, I'd love to direct. But I have a lot of director friends. They spend a lot more time out of work than me. They work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and have 2 little girls who, they're 6 and 3, and in no time at all they'll be wanting the car keys and birth control advice. So I'm savouring as much as I can my children's childhood.
Let's hope it's not too quick. All right, so let me ask you about your other upcoming projects. Obviously, Lucius Malfoy, Harry Potter. They've moved the Potter films back, I think, to kind of have them. There are going to be 2 films, I believe, for the last movie. What's your filming schedule like for that? And are you going to be having to dictate your entire filming for the next 3 years around Harry Potter?
Well, they're shooting Harry Potter. They're starting next year, and they're going way into 2010. And I don't think I'm in it very much, but I am in it a little bit. And they're incredibly nice and flexible about working around actors' other commitments. So it's certainly not a full-time deal for me. I'll be doing a little bit next year and a bit more in 2010. And then there's various English films that look like they're going to go in the new year, but until, in the current climate, until someone's actually standing on the set saying, what would you like in your tea, 1 or 2 sugars, you can't be sure that the films are really going to happen. So I have my fingers crossed that everybody keeps their finance in place.
I never thought it would come to this. Maurice.
I am begging you now.
Not you too, Johnny.